Hey guys, this is a quick overview of personality disorders. We discussed this in class earlier this week. Personality is a person's characteristic manner of thinking, feeling, behaving, and relating to others. Remember, everyone has their own unique personality. In general, no two personalities are exactly the same. Also remember each of the traits fall on a continuum. And so most people are not entirely extroverted, while most people are not entirely introverted. That is the same for all of the main traits. So if you remember our big five, we remember them by the word ocean: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. The opposite ends of the spectrum for each of those: openness is closedness, conscientiousness is disinhibition, extroversion is introversion, agreeableness is antagonism, and neuroticism is emotional stability. Personality traits become a disorder when they interrupt or impair our daily lives. So if we cannot hold a job because one of our personality traits has become distressing, or it impairs our ability to do our job, then it is a disorder. We diagnose disorders through the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health. Back on this slide right here, linked in the PowerPoints, there's a video if you want to watch. It discusses all 10 of the main categories of personality disorders. We are going to discuss 6 of them for our purposes. The first is avoidant personality. The avoidant personality disorder is a pervasive, so it's very intrusive, pattern of social inhibition, feelings of inadequacy, and hypersensitivity to negative evaluation. Those with avoidant personality are high in introversion. They are socially withdrawn, passive, cold, indifferent. They're also high in neuroticism. They're very self-conscious, fearful, angry, apprehensive, anxious, and worrisome. Antisocial personality disorder. This is a picture of a prison. So as many as 50% of people in prison can be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. Antisocial personality disorder is, for the most part, a combination of traits from high antagonism and low agreeableness. They are dishonest, manipulative, exploitative, skeptical, cynical, callous, merciless, and low conscientiousness. They're irresponsible, immoral, negligent, disorganized, hedonistic, and rash. They are the ones who are going to break the law and just don't care. Next, we have obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, which is not the same as obsessive-compulsive disorder. If you remember, obsessive-compulsive disorder is when people have the obsessions and they repeat compulsive actions, so they wash their hands repeatedly to get rid of the obsessive thoughts. Obsessive-compulsive personality disorder is more like what you would think of like the extreme perfectionists. OCPD is largely confined to traits within one of the basic domains of personality. Is largely a disorder of maladaptive conscientiousness, including traits such as workaholism, perfectionism, punctiliousness, rumination, where you get a thought in your head and you just really try to think about like how I could have done that differently. Usually it involves a lot of anger with it. They also have very dogged personalities, and so they're going to get what they want. They are the people that go after a thing. They don't care what gets in the way. It's not going to get in their way. They're as well very, very perfectionistic, so everything must be perfect or it's wrong. Borderline personality disorder. People with this disorder have difficulty controlling their emotions. So basically, you never know what you're going to get from one minute to the next. It is an illness marked by an ongoing pattern, varying moods, self-image, and behavior. Symptoms often result in impulsive actions and very problematic relationships. So it might be someone is super happy with you when they see you, and then 2 minutes later you do something and you really anger them, so they're screaming at you. Then they're on their knees crying because they didn't mean to upset you. And so it's just really, it's like a roller coaster of emotions for both you and for them. People with BPD may experience intense episodes of anger, depression, and anxiety that can last from a few hours to days. It is largely a disorder of neuroticism, including such traits as emotional instability, vulnerability, being overwhelmed, being full of rage, depressed or depressive symptoms, and being self-destructive. Schizotypal personality disorder. People with this syndrome are very uncomfortable in social situations, they're very awkward, they're very withdrawn. They have strange ideas like, oh, unicorns are real. And they're very suspicious of others. So, high neuroticism, they're socially anxious and socially uncomfortable. They are high in introversion. They'd rather be by themselves, always. They are unconventional, odd, eccentric, peculiar, and they're high in antagonism. So they're skeptical, cynical, suspicious. The narcissistic personality disorder, they are quick to anger. They must be held in high regard. They also hold themselves in high regard. They can be authoritative, and they seek recognition from others. High in neuroticism, they're reactive anger, reactive shame, meaning they're going to shame you. They have a high need for admiration. High in extroversion, so they're out there, right? They're very authoritative, their word. First off, they think that everybody kind of wants to hear their opinion on the matter, and they think everybody should follow it. They are high in antagonism. They're going to argue with you. And they're high in conscientiousness in a maladaptive way, meaning their ambition is so great, and they will do anything they can to gain whatever it is that they're going after. Narcissistic personality disorder, or the narcissistic personality, is one that can be adaptive or healthy in some ways for positions such as CEO or someone who needs to be in control because of their job. Those are the main 6 we're going to discuss. The validity of personality disorders. Personality disorders generally have childhood antecedents, such as a trauma or abuse. They are stable across the lifespan, so you remember personality traits are stable. Those that they begin to form in childhood, they're fairly cemented in the 20s and 30s, and you're going to probably have the same trait in the 70s. The same is true about the disorders. They're also linked to brain structure. Treatment of personality disorders. Very few seek treatment. Many are egosyntonic. That means they're largely comfortable with themselves. So imagine if I told you that something was wrong with your personality and you needed to fix it. You're probably going to get really offended with me. And so they're very, very, they're happy, they're comfortable with themselves. They're difficult to treat because so very often if you have one personality disorder, if you are diagnosed with schizotypal personality disorder, you're also likely to be diagnosed with schizoid personality, or not likely, but you could also be diagnosed with schizoid personality disorder. If you're diagnosed with antisocial personality, you might also be diagnosed with the narcissistic personality disorder. So they are very hard to treat just because there are so many components. And also, remember, traits are on a continuum, so someone might be very high in some antisocial traits and very low on others. And so it's like no two cases are the same, so it makes it more difficult to treat. One very clear exception is borderline personality disorder. Remember, that's the one with the fits of rage and then the crying and the happiness, and you never know what you're going to get. So they know that they're like that, and certainly that would be very hard. It's hard to live with someone like that. It'd be hard to live with yourself, your own brain like that. And so they are more likely to seek treatment for a mood stabilizer. There are medications. There are also some treatments that we can use for the treatment of personality disorders. Cognitive behavioral therapy, offshoot of that is dialectical behavior therapy, which there is a video. I believe I'm going to post it in Brightspace. It just kind of talks about dialectical behavior therapy, which really is kind of like the Zen cognitive behavioral therapy. It just really works at evening out our emotions and our responses